Thanks for coming to our Mingle session. Yeah, Subin, thanks for sharing the fun fact about you horse riding. And okay, myself, I actually did a 20 km cycling before, and my butt hurts like so badly. So I was just wondering, when you do horse riding, for how many days did you do?
Oh, like 10, yeah, a week to 10 days.
Yeah, so do you have
for like
problem?
7 hours a day.
Say again?
And you're on a horseback from 6 to 7 hours a day?
Yeah.
Your question is, how do I make sure that
get butt pain actually?
Well, actually, some people have butt packs, like the protection.
Yeah,
that. Question it. And then you know, like everything else, I think because you're in the same posture for so long, yeah. It obviously it wakes up, some muscles, and then usually by day 3, you just, walk like a cowboy, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason why they walk like that. But actually, and then your muscles just get used to it, just make sure that you bring creams, because your skin starts to off a little bit. Okay, I will not go into detail, and this is recorded, by the way. So, but yeah, that's how. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So just for So thanks for the question. But maybe just for the next 30 minutes, I think before we go into a little bit of a structured mingle, and we'll see where that takes us. But what would be useful for you guys today? Just to get a sense.
I think everybody come because it's just a casual thing to meet somebody else in SG Founder Slack, because we've grown to like 566 members, so it's pretty sizable now. Yeah, but of course, if you have certain questions that you want to ask, for example, waiting, you just set up an e-commerce store, is there any burning question you might have for any of us? It can be general question. Feel free.
So perhaps we can go into something a little bit more in depth. I think what makes, and I think we did not call it this networking and really mingle and connection matters, in the sense that we provide a space really for us to come and share. I think one of the things that as entrepreneurs is the challenges that we face on a day-to-day, and how do we come into a space and really kind of support each other through that. So perhaps we can go into it and kind of share whatever you'd like to share, and in terms of like, what are the challenges that you're facing today, and a lot of the time when we come into a small group, it's always good to hear other people's perspective and new ideas that can come and support each other in that way, and connect with each other at a deeper level. So what feel free to share what kind of challenges are you facing currently, if any, or everything's great. And
so can you go first?
Volunteer.
Sure. So I had a really interesting conversation just before this one, and one thing I realized, I've been running a service business, a service design business, for a long time, and therefore I know that like the back of my hand, right? The processes, the systems, the expectations of all the stakeholders that are involved, the business owners, the customers, etc., etc. But switching over to a tech business, the expectations, fundamentally, a lot of the time it's driven by people who are investing, if that's the route that you want to take. And therefore, there needs to be this fundamental mindset shift in the process that you approach the day-to-day running of a tech business versus running a service business. And I guess I'm just sort of curious to know if anyone else in this room has gone through that kind of transition, and what did you do in terms of switching over? One thing, like for me, the branding work that we do, I end up being the brand strategist for a lot of that work, and stakeholder interviews are a key part of that. And it's the typical thing, right? The psychologist will, just as an analogy, psychologists will dish out the advice, but not always follow it themselves. So in theory, I understand what it requires to make the shift, but I guess I'm just a fan of learning from other people. So that's one question I have in mind.
Thanks for sharing, Khan. I think all of us go around sharing our challenges first. Then we can start to just casually share any solution or experiences. Yeah. So Anthony, would you like to go next?
Sure. So for us, okay. So initially when first Stratificare started out, we started out with our severe dengue prediction test. We see the social impact it can bring to developing countries and even to Singapore. We try to free up more hospital beds for our aging population. The challenge that we face really is in terms of getting investors interested, because for us, we are in medtech, so we can really start to generate revenue all the way until we get regulatory approval. So there's like clinical trial, you have to set out your pilot production processes, then you wait another one year plus to get the regulatory approval, then you can start selling. So there's no way, unfortunately for us, there's no way for us to generate early revenue. And so we depend heavily on investors, upfront investment. Yeah, and for dengue, because if I'm not wrong, Singapore is the only developed countries within the whole equatorial belt that is affected by dengue. So a lot of the investors, they will say that they will see dengue as it's like a poor man disease. I'm not going to fund it. My ROI is not going to be great. Right now, our traction is mainly with impact angels, whereby they put in small tickets. Really, they are in to help us and not really looking at the ROIs that much. So yeah, but that there's always more checks trickling in, and with that, it's very difficult for us to really boom, expand the team and accelerate. That is what we learned the hard way, but it can't be helped because that's how the nature of things are. And so until recently, we had the opportunity to work on the liver cancer project, and then we thought that, hey, this liver cancer is a huge deal, and we've landed with clinical trials with Roche, trying to work with Boston Scientific, all the big names. So it must be great. And even for the dengue one, we started working with Chugai, which is we are picking up traction. So we thought that, okay, now it's a good time. Let's go and tackle the VCs. Then the VCs will come back and they were like, oh, okay, we are very interested. Then they come back and tell us that, but I don't think you guys. Are you sure you guys sure that you guys can execute, because you are a small team now, you are handling 2 projects? And I'm like, okay, so dengue is too small, liver is 2 projects. So what are we going to do? So I think this is a situation that we are trying to tackle right now. And then if any of you guys have any similar experience, will be I'd be very interested to listen to you, your experience, how you get out of this situation.
Thank you, Anthony. Nick, you can share about your podcast. You can share about your passion. Up to you. Just the challenge that you go through.
Sure. Yeah. So it may not be as relevant to me now as it was in the past, but I think it's still a long-term goal. More of a broad question, just that entrepreneurship, it's a pretty lonely journey, and the people in your life may not really understand what you're going through. So I was just kind of curious how you find your North Star and you keep going and stay motivated through the immediate feedback you may be getting from those around you.
Yeah, and I think later on when we have time, if you have time or another time, I think you share with me that you have been you're managing an outsourced sales unit previously for companies. Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. Yeah, because I think not a lot of companies think that sales can be outsourced, right? And it'd be interesting to share, what are the tricks of the trade as well. It'd be super interesting. Yeah. So now, Wei Ting, you want to share a bit about the challenges that you face?
Sure. Yeah, for me, it's juggling the different aspects of the business, especially because I'm doing it all alone. So especially, in the accounting, marketing, design, and so on. especially I'm not very familiar with like, accounting, and getting, your first few sales is important as well. But, at the back end, you need to know whether you're really making money. So, if anyone has like any suggestions for like, affordable apps to use and stuff like that would be helpful. Because right now, because I also don't really have like a lot of money to like hire someone to do all this for me. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Subin, would you like to share the challenge?
My own, right?
Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My own, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I would think that it's how do I maintain the momentum? I think a lot of the time, we think about growth and we want to go faster than we think we should, right? So for me, it's how do I not outrun myself? How do I sustain the growth? And I think, when Nick was saying about the why, I think for me, everything that I do, how I do it is everything that I do has to be aligned with my purpose, with my why. Why did I start this, in the first place? Because things will come and hit you, whether it's finances, whether it's a deal that gets dropped off, whether it's, whatever it is, and life just happens. And so for me, it's kind of in the continuity of how do I sustain this growth, and what does it look like to go on my own pace? A lot of the time, I think it is about cutting through the noise, because it's just, the world is just so noisy with everything, right? There's a gazillion ways to do marketing, gazillion ways to raise funds. So how do you kind of tell find your own way of doing it, and what is the story that you tell, that is so unique to your journey of entrepreneurship. So I'm still crafting my own personal story, I would say. And it's been a great opportunity. So thank you, Elise, for just getting me involved in all of this, and trying to understand the whole tech space, and really supporting, I think, entrepreneurs to, because I think a lot of time it's all about taking charge of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. A lot of time it's mindset, more than skills, I would say. And it's been an interesting journey. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Thanks, Subin. So for me, I also want to share a little bit. So I think you guys keep seeing me like spamming all of you on the SG Slack, and then I set up this newsletter which feature startups to investors around the world, and people are asking me like, okay, what do you want to do like ultimately? So for me, to be honest, I don't have a concrete idea. I've been talking to people, and I actually incorporated Asia Startup Network as a private limited. I don't know, how it's going to be like going forward, but I know it's likely to be non-profit, because through organizing Markup for Hope, Mentor for Hope, I got to know quite a lot of you, and all these were community efforts. Yeah, and I think my next step is thinking about like, given the limited time that I have, because right now I'm on sabbatical from Long Hatch Ventures. I do have time, but then I also want to spend a lot of time with my daughter. She is 2-year-old now. Yeah, so while she's sleeping, or like at night after she is in bed, then what, like all these little pockets of time that I have, how do I maximize the impact of this time that I'm going to spend? Is it producing videos of talking to startups like you guys, so that we can broadcast you guys to the world, and then they know about your startup, and then if you talk about challenges, they can support you if they can. Is that one way, or is it continue to send out newsletter so that people will read and people will know about your company and raise awareness? Yeah, so I was just thinking about what is the best channel for this. And then secondly is also continue to market your Asia companies to the rest of the world, because one thing that I started in Entrepreneur First is to market our startups to the US investors. It has been easier than we expected, because Entrepreneur First is funded by Founders Fund, which is US fund, right? And also great lot of partners. Yeah, so it's a bit easier. But I also come across investors who, just have this this bad feeling about Asia, because they heard of like stories where their friends invested in a Chinese company and then they went to do due diligence and they found nothing, or when they reached China. Yeah, so stories like that actually prevent them from wanting to invest into Asia. So how can we change the mindsets? How can we show them that Asia is truly a market for growth? And there are so many wonderful companies in Asia that they can invest into. That's one. And I think a lot of success story from blockchain industry as well. We have quite a few companies like Zilliqa. We have, for example, Mintable, which is invested by Mark Cuban from US. Yeah, so I see successes in the blockchain industry. So how can we do that for the rest of the industries? Yeah, so that's another thing I think about, the challenge I face.